Hello, class. This is a quiz review. I'm going over some of the questions everyone missed the most in chapters 1 through 4, as well as in your AP Stylebook quizzes. And let's get started. First, let me talk about the matching. So all of your matching is based on the key terms you'll find at the end of each chapter. Now, when you look at this, you'll see that the key terms all have little numbers next to them. Those are the page numbers where you can find them within the chapter. They are also mentioned in a glossary in the back of the book. Most of the definitions you'll see in the matching are either entirely or are based on those definitions in the back. If you're still having trouble with it, let me know, but that should give you a big heads up if you were still having any issues with the matching. Now, in chapter 1, being accurate, the true false question, thanks to the internet, media writers can reach millions of readers by writing generic content fit for any audience. The answer was false. Now, in your textbook, it says, as audiences continue to fragment and specialize, media professionals can't assume that broad messages or generic bits of information will influence a wide swath of people. Now, this means the last part here that I highlighted, by writing generic content fit for any audience, that's the fake part. That's the part that isn't true. Most of the time, if you see anything in true false that says any or completely or absolutely not, then it's probably going to be false. The other true false was the 3 key audience needs a media writer should fulfill are wants, desires, and impact. That was also false. The 3 key audience needs are value, engagement, and action. You should find them on pages 14 through 16. Value is more than a want or desire. It is why information is important. It's something you're fulfilling by showing the person how your story impacts their life. Engagement means informing in an interesting way. And finally, an action, you're providing a way for the audience to act on the story. How can they follow up on the information if they're interested in your story? Now, when writing an article, you should consider the blank and the blank. In page 8, you'll see there should be an adapt section. I believe it was adjusted a little bit for the 3rd edition, but basically you are adapting your writing to fit your platform. So if you're writing for a newspaper or social media, and then you are also adapting it based on your outlet. So you could take a piece of information and write it for both the New York Times and for Vogue, and you would write it differently because your audiences are 2 different groups of people. Now, obviously, paper and pen is an article's content is the part we're focusing on. You don't necessarily need a paper and pen. Pretty much everyone writes using a computer nowadays. Subject and predicate are 2 parts of a sentence, not necessarily the entire article. So this question was asking, when writing an article, you should consider the blank and the blank. We're talking about in the article as a whole. Now, post popularity and picture are both important, but they are not the key elements we're looking at in this question. Chapter 3, grammar, correct and rewrite the following sentence. The armed gunman robbed the bank of money. Okay, now I noticed a lot of people had trouble with this. First of all, whenever you're looking at rewriting a sentence, the way to find out whether or not you need to rewrite it, we need to look first for our noun, verb, and object. So our noun in this case is gunman. The verb is robbed. And the direct object, what did the gunman rob? He robbed the bank. He didn't rob of money. Is it in active or passive voice? It's in active. When you rob or robbed something, that is an action. Now, are the other words cliche or redundant? In this case, whenever you see the word gunman, look, it's a combination of the words gun and man, right? So obviously, a gunman has a gun. If he doesn't have a gun, he's just a man who is armed. So we don't need to say anything about a person being armed if we're calling them a gunman. Sorry about that. Okay. So yeah, we can get rid of the word armed and make it into gunman. And then he robbed the bank of money. Well, banks almost always have money in the, unless you're talking about a different kind of bank, in which case you would need to clarify, you need to specify if it's a different kind of bank. But in general, if you're speaking to an everyday person, if you tell them a guy robbed a bank, they're going to assume it's a bank full of money. Now, in the second rewrite, oh, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to review also your incorrect responses. So a few of those were the gunman robbed the money from the bank. Okay, again, we know there's money. The gunman who was armed robbed the bank. We know he's armed. He's a gunman. The armed gunman robbed the bank of its money. This one in particular, be careful again, it with its and its. Remember, ITS is showing without an apostrophe is showing ownership, and IT apostrophe S is the conjunction. It is, there is not an ITS apostrophe. Correct and rewrite the following sentence. The rancher led his herd of cattle through a field of winter wheat. Well, technically, when you read it aloud, it sounds correct, but it really isn't, because the herd in this sentence is the past tense of hear, as in I heard you, not herd, HERD, group of animals. A field in this case, when you put the letter A right against the word field, it means abroad or out of the way, amiss, or to, in, or on the field. And it's also acting as an adverb or adjective. So it wouldn't be the noun that we need right here. So when you add the space, it turns into a field, as in the article a followed by the noun field. And you could say led his cattle instead of herd of cattle as well, because in general, if someone said the rancher led his cattle through a field, then we know pretty much what happened. I would still leave the of winter wheat, because we are, even though it's a prepositional phrase and technically may not be necessary, it's adding descriptors to your sentence, giving the person a little more of a picture of what's happening. Now, which of the following is not a way to improve your writing? Use understandable cliches. Cliches are not something you want to rely on. You want to write quickly but edit slowly, remove redundancies, and avoid empty subjects. So the write quickly, edit slowly seem to confuse a few people. Whenever you're writing, you want to get everything out on the page, and then you can go back and edit and remove any redundant portions or move things around and figure out what it is you have. And it'll help you work a little faster, especially if you're working under a deadline instead of staring at the empty page the whole time. Now, which of the following indicates one boy owning multiple toys? Now, the first answer, boys apostrophe, the BOY apostrophe S toy, is one boy owning one toy. BOYS apostrophe. With toys, TOYS is a plural, so a group of boys possessing multiple toys. And whenever you have BOY apostrophe S, toys, plural, that's one boy with multiple toys. So again, pay attention to your apostrophes, your plural possessives, and should work out for these types of questions. In chapter 4, basic media writing, when should you reference the inverted pyramid style? The whole time. So you're referencing it throughout your writing process. Even if you aren't technically abiding by it the entire time, it's a great way for you to organize your information, figure out what the most important parts are, and have it there readily available for your readers. Okay, now the AP Stylebook quizzes, I know these were pretty difficult at certain points. So let's look at a few questions. In AP Quiz 1, which sentence is correctly punctuated? Okay, so we're supposed to look at punctuation. Now, when you look at this, not only is Al Qaeda capitalized a certain way through most of the answers, it also has a hyphen in it. And you can also see there is a period after the abbreviation September, and then a comma after 11, and either there is a comma or there is not a comma after 2001. So when you look at a question like this, review all of the variations you see here and figure out which one of these is the most correct answer. The best way is to go through them and find all the differences, and then look up the words or the punctuation. So you could look up comma rules, and that would tell you which one of these is correct or incorrect. And then also look up Al Qaeda or look up hyphens, and it'll tell you whether or not the hyphen needs to be there. Now, AP Quiz 1, which sentence is correctly spelled? The Hollywood star said she would encourage filmmakers to use Spain as a location for co-productions. Now, in this case, we know Hollywood is good. Most of these words are fine. The biggest ones where we see, again, where there are changes or between all of these are co-productions and filmmakers. So each sentence has one or both of them spelled in a different way. Now, when you go through your choices, one of the ways you can use your AP style guide to check is to look up the words filmmakers and co-productions. Another way would be to look up the prefix co. So if we look in the co entry in the style book, it says keep the hyphen for nouns, adjectives, and verbs that indicate occupation or status. So a co-pilot or co-host. No hyphen in other combinations. Co-producer would be hyphenated because a producer is an occupation. So same thing with co-production. It's a little tricky. If you look up the word itself, it will go back and reference the co-entry, and co-production and co-producer are listed under exceptions, as in ones where you would say co-dash. And of course, if you look up filmmakers, it shows you filmmakers is all one word, no dash or no hyphen, excuse me. The floating museum features a blank of the protests that eventually led to the Revolutionary War. Now, this is reenactment spelled 3 different ways. Obviously, one of them might have triggered your spell check and it would have shown you, hey, this isn't right. That would be the bottom one. The second one and the first one are the ones where it starts getting tricky. What you do is you look up the word again in the AP style book. And according to the style book, there was a 2019 change in recognition of common usage and dictionary preferences. You do not hyphenate double E combinations with re and pre. So some exceptions are listed. However, in this instance, we are talking about reenactment, no hyphen. Microsoft will continue selling the package as blank software, standalone software. Again, spelling, look it up in the AP style book. It says standalone with the hyphen. Republican efforts to impeach or censure the IRS commissioner are exercises in partisanship and a waste of time and money, the Democrat asserted. So the only thing in here is what's between the 2 parentheses. You need to pick one of these. Your options were censor, and censure. These are 3 different words. The first one is censor is to prohibit or restrict the use of something. A censer is a container in which incense is burned, or censure is to condemn. Now, which meaning fits the sentence? Now, if you look up the word impeach, they're talking about an official who may be impeached for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So if you're unfamiliar with any terms that could give you context clues, look up those as well. And it will help you understand which of these is the best answer. In this case, Republican efforts to impeach or condemn the IRS commissioner makes a lot more sense than burning incense or restricting the use of the IRS commissioner. Now they're showing their women's wear. Women's wear, again, this is a case where you want to look it up in the AP guide. It's also listed under fashion or clothing if you can't find the women's wear entry. Wear also has its own entry, the suffix wear, and it says women's wear, all one word, and no possessive. Casinos on Macau were ordered closed for the first time due to the typhoon. This was a spelling change, an official spelling change in 2019 on the part of the AP. They're reflecting, instead of the Portuguese spelling AU, they're doing the English publication spelling AO. Columbus Day would be known as Indigenous Peoples Day. Which one of these is correct? In this case, it's Indigenous Peoples with an S, Day, no apostrophes. Now, the reason is because you can refer to people as in a group of people, but you can also have peoples as in a body of persons who are united by common culture or kinship. And in that specific context, the word peoples is correct. Okay, those were some of the bigger errors, issues in your quizzes. Let me know if you have any questions about them and I can review a little more. Thanks. Bye.